this is amazing. Oh, it's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Water.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the fishies.
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around. Woo.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend, I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannon's insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannon's.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan de Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. It's Michael Conchar that's got around Dylan de Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cullajar's got past, so Dylan...
Light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have a green light and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan de Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes. As the safety car pulls in, we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the fishies, any of the piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're
this
off.
first lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannon's.
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. Oh, it's clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we get a good run. Dodd's just absolutely competitive. Really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching from, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sim Racing World TV. Tonight we are back for the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals here for round number 5. I forgot to change the round number, I do apologise. Round number 5 out here at Motorland Aragon. Joining me here tonight is Stefanie Piccoli. Steph, we're on for a big one here tonight, a little bit of a carnage-filled race. Cowie's really missing out by not being here, isn't he?
Oh, most definitely. Aragon normally does put on quite a show no matter what category you're in and what cars you're running around here. So it is unfortunate he is missing out tonight, but hopefully the guys can put on a show for everybody else.
Well, hopefully he can watch us obviously off the rip and then see the replay, and so he's well prepared for next week. Obviously Aragon showed a true test to the 8.6s when they were last here. I think the F3s though, whole other type of beast. Obviously they're not a tin top, they are an open wheeler and they are built like paper mache. Obviously there were some eager moves from the 8.6s when they came around here. Do we think we're going to see any of that here tonight from these F3 boys?
I wouldn't put it past any of them. I mean, the championship between the two pro drivers in the pro class there is quite tight, so I mean if they're battling each other I probably wouldn't sort of put it past them to try and take a dive down the inside or try and overtake around the outside or something like that.
I think what we can expect though is a good amount of racing room between drivers. Obviously, where especially at the top end of town, they like to give themselves a nice bit of room. We have seen a couple of avoidable pieces of contact between them, but it's not really a major thing that is happening all the time between, especially those top end of town drivers. You know, Jay Dixon's, Daniel Burns. Those guys like that. So, I mean, the big news obviously is this is a debut race here for this track. We've never raced here before in the F3s. We've got no records, so everything that happens tonight is a new record for this track, whether it's fastest qualifying lap, most race wins, or however many races we've had around here. That's all going to be, kind of set in stone early on here tonight. And then obviously going forward, we'll have more history of this track the more that we come here. Steph, big talking point of the season so far, we've had 6 races across our 4 rounds with 6 different winners. So championship is wide open at this point, at the top end of town at least. So we've got, we got Dixon, Byrne, Bradley, Bellac, Gallo, De Bono. All those guys are former race winners this season. Who, looking at that list, do you think we're going to get a multiple time winner here tonight? Or do you reckon we might continue that trend of having a new winner every single week?
Oh, look, anything's possible. But I think we might have a repeat winner tonight.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, those guys have all been consistent top 6 in the championship. There's a reason why they've all won a race. I mean, you can't really put it past maybe Dixon or Byrne to have a proper crack. We know tonight's as well the first round of the F1 Shadow Series that we run in kind of unison with the F3 Championship. And we know that Daniel Byrne won that title last season. He's defending it this season. So he might be going, extra hard on this race tonight just to try and secure a win to get that championship challenge started out nicely.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think if he's not pushing tonight, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, is there a week when he's not pushing? Let's be honest.
That's true.
Yeah, a couple of comments as well. Keegan Caldwell going new commentator. Well, Keegan, if you didn't catch our IMSA broadcast a couple of weeks ago, that was where Steph made her commentary debut, and then she's joining me here again tonight. We've also had some comments from your good friend Mark Cochran. Steph saying good luck. SRW's newest commentator. So you were supposed to be with me for IMSA this week, but you unfortunately not. But the last couple of rounds you will be with me after this week, of course. Yep. So
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, so much is on offer at the moment. Obviously, AM Championship still within contention. Dean Singovich, he's picked up a class victory last time out. Cochrane is leading, though, with a 15-point lead back to Johnston and Testuero. So Cinco could start pushing up for it if he can get more wins. But that championship's super tight at the moment between those four sort of or five drivers at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. It's across the whole board, you know, between all classes, it's pretty tight. You know, points wise, when you look across it, it's not much in it at all. So yeah, even like the overall title, as well as the class titles are definitely up in the air. And I don't think tonight's going to be any different.
Well, I mean, only 37 points split the top four in the amateurs. Dean not a part of that top four at the moment. I believe he is in the top five. Obviously, Gerard, he picked up class victory last time out for the Pro-Ams, but he does not lead the championship. Johnston leads that one, but it's only 29 points between them. So it is still all to play for at this stage in the championship. Obviously, you know, we're not really getting one driver that is kind of breaking away from the rest of the field. We're getting a good battle here. You know, pros, obviously there's 6 drivers who are in it realistically. And then your Pro-Ams and your AMs, it's kind of shrinking slightly, but there's still good battles happening for those championship titles.
Yeah, most definitely. It's look, I wouldn't want to try and put a bet onto who would you know, take out the title or anything like that, because it's be almost impossible.
Well, I mean, speaking of championship standings, so I've got the pros up on screen at the moment. Top 5 drivers are separated by by 51 points as I'm looking at it, going from David Gallo leading to Byrne, to Dixon, to Ryan, to Bellac. Bradley, who's one of our other winners this season, he's down in 8th and he's about 193 points off the back of them. So hasn't really maximised his rounds all, you know, so far this season, but he is still within the hunt. Obviously, the Pro-Am we spoke about, it's Johnson and Gerard, both of those boys battling it out. Hodgson's still within the hunt, 95 points is the gap from him up to the leader, but it's still going to be a fair run for him to try and make that up. And then for the amateurs, one of the, you know, kind of a somewhat close battle. Top 5, again, they're separated by 56 points. Actually, no, Dean is not even in. Why, how is Dean Sinkovich not in the top 5, but Mr. Steve Sinkovich is? That's totally wild that is the current case in matters, but maybe Dean can start getting some more wins and start to get back up there, and we'll see who the true better Sinkovich brother is.
That's it.
We are into qualifying now, though. Drivers are coming around, starting their lap times, so we can start to focus on them a little bit. David Gallo, as I mentioned, leads the championship at this stage in time. We'll have to see what he can do here tonight in qualifying and then into both of our races as well. Of course, it is sprint format here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Be a 20-minute heat race and then a 40-minute feature, so you're going to have heaps and heaps of action coming your way from the F3s out at Aragon here tonight. Oh, Rusty Gander as well in the chat going, go Seth, sounding good. And then he's also saying, don't let her push you around.
Just reading that. Yeah, good on you, Rusty.
Don't worry. I'm used to commentating with Cowie, so it's pretty hard for someone to be pushing me around in the comms box, Rusty. But much love to Cowie though. He loves a good yarn, and he's got a good amount of info about him as well, which is good. So
definitely.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how we go here tonight in qualifying. Dixon just put it on pole, but Fahey then pips him to the line with a 150.752. They were getting down to around about the 49s, maybe a couple of 48s in practice, Steph. So as usual, we should see these times start to come down throughout the rest of this session, although because it is sprint format, they are limited to the 15 minutes. They will not get an extra lap if they start one before the 15 minutes is up.
Yeah, that makes it quite tough, especially if you're, when it does come around, it's you come around the start finish or you're close to it and it cuts out. That's quite annoying. Especially if you're up a decent amount. It's throws a spanner in the works.
Well, there is that little leeway of about, I think it's about 2 to 5 seconds. So you have got that little bit of extra time, but you don't have. If you're coming up to the final corner, it's going to take you 10 seconds to get up to the line, and you're within 3. So it's not really going to happen. So
no,
it's going to be hard for them to really get it in. I mean, name of the game with these cars is you've got to get those tyres warmed up. It takes a couple of laps to do so, and you cannot afford to make mistakes, especially in this kind of qualifying session. You make one of those mistakes, you're having to restart. It's just going to ruin your whole run throughout qualifying. On board now with Daniel Byrne, driver 808, the defending F1 Shadow Series champion, as we mentioned. He's currently sitting at the top of the timing tower, 1 minute 50.68 at this stage in time. So pace is already getting set early here, but we do expect them to get tighter and tighter between them, but also get those times a lot, into the sub 150s towards the end of this session.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely expect them to be, within the closer to the 149s for the end of the session. Definitely, especially the pro guys in the pro division, EJ Dixon, Daniel Dougie Gowans. They are pretty quick.
Well, Bellac's here on an absolute flyer. He set 2 purples in the middle sector. Gallo went top, but then Bellac beat him. It was 150.19 for Caleb Bellac. He has struggled this season with a little bit of consistency. We mentioned it a lot last week. He was unfortunately taken out by a fellow driver in a lower class, that being this bloke here, Steve Singovich, but we're not going to talk about it too much.
No.
It was not intentional. We know that it was accidental, and he was very apologetic about it. But Bellac has either, strung his luck a little bit, or he's just been a bit inconsistent throughout this season. And we've, me and Cow have kind of been talking about throughout the season that if he can pull it together, he would be an ultra, challenger to this championship. And that's just what he needs to get. He needs to get that consistency about him, and he will be up there week in and week out. We can see it by his lap times and the fact that he has got a 6K I rating. He's capable. He just needs to get the consistency down pat, and he will be a proper challenger.
Yeah, 100%. Especially having an I rating of that level is you don't get that by being slow and unclean. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, they remember they say if you can't do, you teach, and if you can't teach, you teach gym. Well, I've got a 900 I rating, not by my own accord. I got caught up in officials and in people having crashes and just went downhill. It's a slippery slope when you start to lose I rating.
It is.
You just seem to start to lose more and more. So, I sit here and give my humble opinions as someone with that sort of an I rating. But of course, it is completely on what we see on screen. Obviously, and we call it as we see it. We try not to show favoritism. But that's the job of a commentator, isn't it? You call it as you see it, and you don't make up the narratives. This is what the narrative that is on hand is. If Bellac was more consistent, he'd be up there week in and week out battling for wins.
Yeah, definitely. Look, if that was the case, he would be closer up or further up the order as well in the championship. Unfortunately, he's a little bit off. Still in contention, obviously, but he could potentially be further up the standings.
Well, we
a bit
have
more consistencies.
Yeah, we have seen championship swings happen halfway through a season. First half of the season can be one story, the second half of the season can be a completely different one, and then by the end of the season, it's kind of like a big crescendo of both halves coming together, and then you've got this massive final showdown from who's been the strongest up the at the start, and then who's been stronger in the latter half. So Bellac could be that main protagonist in that storyline. We just have to wait and see how he does on track, of course. Daniel Byrne, we mentioned him already. David Gallo, championship leader, he's P3 at the moment, 150.24 at this stage in time. Dixon currently sits provisional pole, 1 minute 50.17. So we're not quite into the 49s, but we are only halfway through the session, so the times are coming down already. So it may not only be a matter of time until we see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And with that last corner around these trackers, it can make and break your lap. If you don't get a really good run out of that last corner or onto the back straight, it will ruin your lap. So yeah, once the guys are in their groove and nailing those couple of corners, those couple of left-handers onto the main straight, you're on for a good one if you get those right. That's for sure.
Well, Dixon's now going to set off on another lap. We'll see how he goes here. Colwell's on a couple of green sectors. Currently sitting P1 for the amateurs is Matt Tessiero, but Keegan Colwell will want to make a challenge to that as he comes up through the final corner. What's the lap time going to be for him here? Time to beat is a 151.42. He did get into the 50s in practice. Can he match it here? He can indeed. In fact, he goes only just slightly worse than his practice time. 1 minute 50.930 puts him amongst the back end of the pros, but up the pointy end for the amateurs. Currently leading the Pro-Ams of the night, Sam Katagazinos, with a time of 1 minute 50.4. So he's already up to pace and in amongst the pros and really mixing it with them. And that's kind of, you see the good spread throughout the field, Steph, of, the difference between a pro and a Pro-Am. A Pro-Am may just necessarily be, they're not quite close enough for pro, but they could be there at some point. Then Am obviously is the other way around up to Pro-Am. So it's it's a good spread, but you know, maybe a couple other drivers, they get pushed down when someone goes up into the next class. I have to see how it works out at the end of this season.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's always a bit of a change, sort of, if you got the quicker guys that are they're on the cusp, so to speak, sort of the pro, but then they're too quick for the AM, but they're not at the top of the pro list. So you sort of got that middle ground.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like the AMs are almost like the development. The pro AMs are the standard, and then the pros are just aliens at this point in time. But at least the top half of the pros are.
That's it.
You know, we have got a comment here from Phil Vella, ramp it up Dixon. We'll have to see what Dixon can do here tonight. See if he can get a second win this season. As we mentioned, we've had 6 races over 4 rounds. We've had 6 different winners. Maybe Dixon can be the first one to make the jump and get that elusive second victory. Dylan DeBona's had a good run so far in qualifying. He sits P8, but he has got a purple sector in the second and a green in the third, so he could be on here for a personal best lap time along the run down the straight. And it was good enough for pole, Steph, 150.14.
That's very, very close there. Yeah, what a shame he didn't get that last sector as a purple. He was just off it. He didn't need it anyway to get up there to the top.
There's the intervals. That's the split between every single time. Up until P22, they are separated by all orange. That means every single position from their position ahead of them is separated by less than half a second. And the majority of them, if we could have red on this, which is less than 1/10, the majority of these would be red right now. At times it is that close and that tight, there's hardly any pace to get out of the car at the moment.
Yeah, sort of have to go all the way back to, well, to the back of the field, I guess, to get something that's, you know, a bit more than a or close to a 10th. Yeah, it's all sort of mid pack-ish, but it's very tight out there at the minute. Very, very tight.
And I think what it's going to lead to is if they can consistently get these laps, it's going to lead to a nice tight race for us, which could lead to some carnage by having cars closely together, but should also lead to us having some absolutely ripping racing out there between them, because they're going to be able to go, you know, tooth and nail, fighting for young and old, just to try and make up any time they can over their adversaries out on track.
Yeah, most definitely. It's I think we're definitely in for some close racing tonight. I think, especially looking at those times, it's going to be on.
So I guess the proper question we need to ask you, Steph, is how do you think Mark Cochran is going to go as a completely unbiased, opinionated commentator here tonight, talking about someone you definitely do not know personally?
Do not know at all. No,
never heard of him.
No, if I walk down the street. No, look, I think he'll go well. He tends to go fairly well in the F3s. He doesn't mind the open wheelers. I haven't really spoken to him before the race tonight a great deal, so I hope he's got his setup sorted and he's comfortable in the car, because there has been some instances where he hasn't been happy, and obviously then the race hasn't gone his way. So, being the leader of the AM class, I think he'll be pushing tonight to extend his lead and try and move up the order in the overalls as well.
Well, if I bring up once again on my end of the championship table, we can see where he is in comparison to our current pole sitter Keegan Corbett on the championship. Cochran, yeah, he's got a fairly stacked leader, 174 points. So even if Keegan gets that class win here tonight, and obviously they are classified on their overall finishing positions. That's how they really get their points. But even if Caldwell were to finish where he starts and Cochran were to finish with where he is, he's not going to lose too much on him, but he's going to gain over the rest of the field, which is still going to give him a benefit. So, I mean, realistically speaking, if they were to finish like this for every single round for the rest of this season, I think Cochran would actually still win the championship mathematically over Keegan. So I think if Keegan wants to put a challenge, he's going to have to try and push for top 10s and hope that Mark just has some poor races going forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough one.
It is. It's always the biggest thing to try and come up with how they're going to go and how they could possibly turn out. But We are now going to get into race number 1. We'll bring up the starting grid for our first race here tonight. Dylan De Bono will start at a P1 for Velocity SimLab with an exceptional lap time of 1 minute 50.136. We didn't quite get into the 49s in qualifying. That could come down though to track temp, which we will check off the start of this race. Jay Dixon will then start at a P2 alongside him for Downforce Racing, with Caleb Ballack and Daniel Byrne making up the second row of the grid in behind. David Geller will then start at a P5 ahead of Darren Fahey in P6, with Dougie Gowans coming in P7. Sam Catagazinos will then start P1 in his class, P8 overall for Velocity SimLab alongside his teammate, with his other teammate Matthew Gerard in behind him in P9, P2 in class here tonight. Marcus Knitska will then make up the top 10 for Pace Syndicate. Just outside the 10, we've got Andrew Johnston and Greg Bradley in P11 and P12 for the 6th row of the grid here tonight. Then down to Dave Roberts in P13 with Keegan Caldwell starting alongside him. He'll also start P1 for the amateur class, with Will Ryan starting at a P15 in behind and Brad Hudson starting just off the back of the P1 for the amateur class. Mark Cochran, who we just spoke about, he starts P2 in class, P17 overall. Alongside him will be Mark Turner, with Matt Tesuero and Callum Rossendust making up the top 20 here tonight. Dean Singovich will start at a P21 ahead of Greg Johnston, with Nick Schmalenberg starting in behind them, and Steve Singovich will make up the rest of the grid. Kevin Wakefield is yet to get out on track. I'm not sure if he actually set a qualifying time or not. He did, so he'll start at a P25. Adam Hughes is in the session, cutting some practice laps. I joined, obviously, as a commentator. I didn't actually join as a watcher this time. I made that mistake. But Greg Barber, Tyson McAvoy, our race controllers here tonight, as well as I believe Greg Leake is back in the safety car. So great to have Leakey out there as well. But Steph, we've got about a minute for the rest of the cars to get onto the grid and get ready to go. 20-minute race for the first one, 40-minute race in the second with a reverse top 10. Who do you think is going to be able to take advantage of this off the start? Obviously, we've got DeBono, Dixon, Ballack, Byrne, Gallo in the 5. Could we see maybe an outsider, get up there if there's a bit of carnage early on?
Oh, look, anything's possible. Turn 1, if you got the inside line heading into turn 1, that would be ideal. Especially with it being, a bit more of a sharper corner. Obviously, as long as you've got track position going in. But it depends how you get off the start as well. There's a lot of factors that come into play in this track, because although they've got the long straights, you've got quite tight corners as well. So you want to sort of make sure you're on the correct side of the road for the corners to try and make a move, or capitalize on your position.
Yeah, exactly. Capitalize on it. Get that perfect apex. We did get the 30-second warning from race control. Revs are getting high now. It's time to go racing out at Aragon for the F3s here tonight. DeBono on pole. Dixon alongside. Who's going to get the run down to turn 1? Lights are up. Let's get ready to go racing here for the first time ever in the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals. It is green flag running. Nice clean start for the majority of the field, and they just all fan out on the way down to turn 1. Looking nice and clean at the moment. No. Oh, but I say that DeBono's been hit.
He's gone.
And it is carnage already here tonight. DeBono is far down the order. He's dropped outside the 10. And this could be an early safety car.
It looks like Catakazanis was caught up in that as well. Although looks like he's gotten moving again, but I think he might have been involved in that too.
So we're just going to chill out here on the static cams for lap 1, just so we can see if there's anything that happens in the background of any of these moments. See if anyone likes to calm down here early off the start. Ballack is our leader with Fahey, Byrne, Gallo, Kanitska. That's the 5. Gowans, Bradley, Catakazinos, Johnston, DeBono. That's the 10. I believe it was Dixon who was involved. I believe he may be parked up still, possibly. I think Dave Roberts was also involved as well. So this could be an early safety car if it is coming out on track. Just to quickly catch up on some comments here while we come through the rest of this lap. Phil Bella saying maybe we're all winners. I think we're all winners when we get to watch such fantastic action out on track. And then also saying the setup is tough, hard to get the high speed and short turn balance right. That's exactly right. Also expecting 49s. I was as well, to be honest, in qualifying. I'm surprised we didn't get into the 49s. Phil saying, I reckon Jay on the inside at turn 1, double clutch start. Well, he was on the inside at turn 1, but it didn't really work out for him nonetheless. I believe safety car is out there. It is indeed. So we are going to be under safety car. it'd be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to get a pit stop here in this first race. But it's going to be interesting to see after this little restart period, Steph, how the drivers kind of just recollect their thoughts and get ready to get going again.
Yeah, it will be, especially after that lap 1, turn 1. Are they going to push us hard on the restart, or you never know? I guess they are. I think when Jay Dixon comes out of the pits, and Dave Roberts, I think they'll be pushing to try and make up some spots, especially after having to tow after that incident there.
So that was Gerard who was involved in that early incident. This was how Dixon went off track. And that was with De Bono as well. So it's just a bit of a sandwich between them, and he had nowhere to go. Wheels were broken and just absolutely hurting. I believe he's still parked up there. And then Dave Roberts, he was also involved too. So just an absolute cataclysmic moment here off the start line into turn 1. Almost a nuclear bomb going off nice and early here for us. So we mentioned if we'd get the carnage, well, we have gotten it indeed. So that was that is suboptimal. Yeah, I'd say that is suboptimal.
Definitely, yeah. I have to agree with that one.
Yeah, even Adrian's saying, you called it, Phil, that double clutch start from Jay. And he's like, I was temporarily correct.
Oh, yep. Looks like Daniel Bryan's on his way back out now. He's joining the field. Looks like he's out of the pits.
Yeah, Mr. Byrne out of the pits. So the defending champion for this F1 championship, he will be at the back of the field off the restart. He will hope to get up to the back of the top 10 just to get pole position in the next one. Been a real shake-up of positions off the start line here. Top 6 are all pro drivers. Belak, Fahey, Kanitska, Gallo, Gowans, Bradley. Then we get to the top 2 in the Pro-Am, Catacasinos and Johnston in 7th and 8th. Then it's De Bono. He hasn't really lost too much out. He's down in P9. And then Keegan Caldwell into the top 10, but P1 still for the amateurs. Cochrane, though, only 2 spots off the back of him. So currently not really gaining too much off this just yet. But, it's still all to play for at the moment, Steph. Early on in the session, by the time the safety car comes in, we'll probably have about 10 minutes left of running for this first race. So it's going to be a nice little sprint. I think the drivers are just going to have to take a breath and relax a little bit here for those final 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. That you don't want to be crashing out the last 10 minutes, especially after this safety car wouldn't be ideal. By any means, but I think it'll definitely be on. It'll be on for sure, the restart.
So we mentioned possible 2-time winners here tonight. Dixon has just come back out of the lane. So he's back out on track as well. Burns back out there. So those guys are not in the position at the moment to win this first race, so they may not get their chance at a double win this season as of this round. Belak leads at the moment, as I mentioned. I do believe he has won a race. Let me just double check that he has. He has indeed. So Belak currently has the best chance of getting that second elusive win. Then we got Gallo in P4. He's also taken a win this season. Bradley P6. So he's also in with a shout. And then De Bono back in P8. So could we see Fahey and Kanitska just jump up there and claim a win maybe if Caleb makes a mistake?
Yeah, most definitely. It's on the cards.
So the leader has gone early off this restart. Oh, did not mean to move that. As we come back here onto the restart of this race now. Belak leads to Fahey, to Kanitska, to Gallo, to Gowans. That's the 5 as we get going here. Lap number 3, 5 3/4 minutes into this race. So it's going to be about a 15-minute sprint. 10 minutes time, we will not have any more safety cars in this first race. So hopefully they can just keep it nice and tidy here off the start and just give us some good, clean running for the rest of this one.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. It's some good, close racing for the remainder of this one.
Off the back of Belak's car now, we've got Fahey in the background. We've seen Belak kind of break away in the past, Stefan. He's not really going to have, I would think, the chance to catch up to some lap traffic in this first race at least. But this could be a good challenge for him. If he can get this win, start from P10 in the next one, it's going to be a good challenge for him to actually race amongst the pack. And as we mentioned, just get that consistency up and maybe even take the first, double win, round win of the season as well.
Definitely. He's definitely got the pace to do it. Yeah, we've seen that in quali and practice. He's got the pace to be up the top there. So it's just gonna be a matter of weaving through the field. If he stays in this top spot at the end of the race, of weaving through the field from 10th spot up to the top, and look, hopefully he does get the round win. A double win and round win. It'd be really good for his confidence moving into next week as well.
Well, I could see him there. He did move across on the circuit and then move back across. He needs to be careful of weaving. Can't try and, get out of the toe too much. Toe is 7/10 around here, so Fahey is just outside the cusp of it. But lap 4 now, 7.5 minutes in. We are still going. Keegan Caldwell has had an incident. What's happened to him here? He is back on track. How's he done this? So it's down at the end of the straight. Has he just locked it up and looped it? Oh, not even a lock up. I think he's overturned the car.
Yeah, overturned, yeah. Oversteered through there.
Good wherewithal just to keep the car going and get it off the track. I know we talk about holding brakes, but in that moment in time, that was probably the most beneficial thing he could do since he was already nearly off the track anyhow. So drive-through penalty for car 402, contact with car 11, lap 1, turn 1. That will be Jay Dixon, so he has been deemed at fault for that incident, so he will now cop a drive-through, and that will put him right back to the end of the field. He's already 34.9 seconds back off of Tessiero, so, race 1 tonight is pretty much a bin it sort of affair for him. You put that away and you pull out and you keep going for the next one, so we'll have to see how he can go race 2, but he will be starting from the back of the field, so it's going to be a tough affair for him going forward.
Yeah, I would expect he'd be pushing quite hard in race 2 to try and make up some spots and gain some more points for his championship. Not ideal. Going to be, on the back at last row of the grid there for race 2. Obviously missing out on the reverse in the reverse top 10. So hopefully he can move up and through the race and make up some spots. Bag a couple more points.
Well, it will probably, I would say it's likely going to be his drop round regardless. Being that the first race will be minimum points, and then second race he'd pretty much have to get up to the top of the field just to get maximum. So could be a tough round for him. We'll have to wait and see. Ballack sets the fast lap of the race, 150.5 on that last one. Fahey was 2/10 off. He's outside of tow range now, so now it's going to be dangerous for P2 and 3 because Ballack could start to run away here in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely could, especially having that 9/10 gap. There's definitely no tow there to pull him along, so he could most definitely be running away with it tonight.
Well, in the chat saying it's a curious penalty given he was ahead. Yeah, I know that we like to comment on race control's calls sometimes. We looked at it. They look at it from all angles. Obviously, they've deemed that he was at fault. Without us going through it and looking at it at all angles, we can't really give an opinion. I think it was, should he have gone for it up the inside? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. But we didn't really get a proper look at it anyway. So it's up to race control at the end of the day, and their decision stands unless someone's willing to go and it's like I don't mean to shut you down, Phil, but like it's not really our place to kind of pick apart their calls or anything like that. And there have been times that I've agreed with race control, been other times where I've disagreed, and I've been open about that, of course. I honestly, I don't think I can speak for Steph as well. We haven't really looked into it enough to really put a comment on it, to be honest.
No, not really.
So yeah, drive-through penalty car 024 for contact with car 25 turn 4 lap 3. So that will be Dean Sinkovic. So unfortunately, his night gets a bit worse. He'll now drop out of the top 5 for his class. Speaking of the amateurs, Mr. Mark Cochran is leading the way, Steph, so should be a little party happening in your head right now looking at that.
Yep, he's getting there. It's good to see the Apex Esports League there leading the AM split. It's good.
Of course, his main contender at the moment, Callum Rossender, he's just off the back of Johnston, so he's actually not too far away from Cochran at this time. May not be enough in this race, though, for him to put a challenge in at this stage. Gallows at the fast lap of the race, so he's actually running faster than Fahey and Ballack at this moment in time. but he's not quite close enough to really put any attack on the back of Fahey and push him up to Bellac just yet.
No, not quite yet. If he does get up a bit closer, you definitely got the push-pull effect with the toe happening. So, if those two work together, they can definitely chase him down. But it might run out of time, I think, potentially.
And that's kind of the downside to the sprint race. Obviously, the 40-minute race, we get a good length to kind of go at it. Maybe in future they look at doing sprint races as just 2 half-an-hour races, and that kind of gives us a chance to reset after a safety car, or I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Dixon's doing business right now. He's set the fast lap of the race at the back of the field, so he's just cutting quality laps at this point. Maybe moving forward, we go into, for sprint rounds, they're just a split of 2 half-an-hour races. Second half-an-hour one, we do the reverse top 10 again, because that at least then means the first race is kind of, it still has a good chunk of it, a good length to allow drivers a chance to actually come back after a safety car, or to come back after losing a bit of time. So, and that could even then lead into needing to do a pit stop in both races, or doing a compulsory across both. Whichever you do, I think there could be just a good opening up of structures for the racing as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of variables that you can sort of put into races to make it, a bit interesting and more challenging for the drivers. If you do a bigger fuel cut or something like that, do they conserve fuel? Do they push and top up later on? There's lots of variables that can be put in throughout, in upcoming seasons for SRW.
I mean, even if they would have introduced not limited fuel in those sprint races, but then you've kind of, if you want to get the benefit of it, you've got to be able to try and figure out how much fuel you're going to need for the half an hour, and then which race you want to do the pit stop for, and stuff like that. So it could really open up some strategy play going forward. Instead of like forcing them to have to do a pit stop to make it to the end, it means that they're, and maybe you say you have to do at least a 10-second stop or something, just to kind of, force a slower stop, because otherwise people will come in and they'll just put 3 seconds worth of fuel in the car and they get to the end, where if you're doing, forced 10-second stops, then, and again, you don't know where you're going to be in the race. Like, you might be up the back for race 1 and decide, I'm going to get my CPS out of the way, and then suddenly you've got an advantage going into the second race over all the guys that have not done a pit stop, because you're just going to get free spots throughout that race. So it really is going to open up some strategy plays and some different options for people to actually make their way up the field and challenge for those, top 10 positions, maybe even a top 5 hero there as well. Yeah,
definitely. Look, it's all for changes, or adding things to make it more challenging on the driver, in their race strategy. It's having a race that you got to sort of think about your strategy is always good, from a driver's perspective, because you got to not only thinking about battling the car in front, or keeping the distance behind, or keeping your line, but you're actually thinking about your fuel usage. You're trying to work out, in quali or in your practice session beforehand, okay, I'm doing X amount of time, alright, so we've got this many laps, I'll do this many laps in this time, I'm using X amount of fuel, what do I need to put in? I'm all for strategy. It mixes it up a lot. It makes the drivers think, other than just fill it up at the start and off you go. Definitely strategy is always good.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the strategy play somewhat come into effect for the supercars, although again that's been a forced strategy. Where they've limited the fuel and you're kind of having to push the limits to get to, with fuel saving, to get to a one stop. We saw it last night. There were only 2 drivers that managed to do a one stop, and they finished P1 and P2. So they managed to work their strategy for that to work out for them. But again, if we were to work it so it is a if it's you start with enough fuel to get to the end, right, or your tank capacity will actually get you to the end, of both races, then you kind of say to them, hey, you've got to do one compulsory stop. You can either do it in the first race or the second. You pick when you want to do it, and again, that strategy then comes into play. And maybe you say, there's a compulsory pit stop window where you can only do it between, say, lap, or say between after the first 5 minutes, that's when it opens. So, you kind of get a feel for how that could work. Obviously, there'll have to be discussions made how the ruling would be on it. But again, maybe they introduce it for next season, and it means seeing that we'll change to new cars. Obviously, we'll go to the Super Formula Lights, so new regs means maybe we just get some new rulings on race structure as well. I mean, why not?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's always what ifs when you're when you're coming up to a new season of, what if we did this? What if we do that? There's got to be lots of discussions and lots of planning around it. It's not something you can sort of just go, right, this is what we're doing. It's a lot of discussion and planning ahead. It also comes down to your tracks as well. Track selection as well. That sort of comes into play as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they keep, super sprint rounds for those short tracks, maybe like a Sandown or something like that, and then they move the sprint rounds to the slightly bigger but not as short tracks, maybe, sort of where lap time's about 1.5 minutes, and then your regular rounds are your longer tracks where you're getting up towards 2-minute lap times, like an Aragon or something like that. Looking at the weather at the moment though, Steph, as well, we've got 23 degrees track temp, so it's not absolutely scorching out there, so the tyres shouldn't be wearing away too much. But Fahey has been picking away at that gap between him and Bellac as we come into the final 1.5 minutes here of this race. Fahey was up underneath half a second, but Bellac's just started turning the jets on a little bit and just pull away at the dying embers of race 1.
Yeah, definitely that gap was closing, but obviously, Fahey's just outside that toe area, and I think Bellac's doing a good job at holding that as well.
This is the final lap of race number 1, so we have got the white flag here. So it's all or nothing now for Darren Fahey if he wants to get it past Caleb Bellac and give us yet another one-time winner this season. Otherwise, Bellac is going to become the first 2-time winner in proceedings for season number 1 at this stage in time. It's not looking like Fahey's really going to be able to put a challenge in here. Bellac, again, he's just going to have to keep it consistent and clean, not make a mistake, and he should have the win wrapped up at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, they've just run out of time in this race there to close that gap up and make a challenge for the race lead. But they're going to be starting P9 and P10 for the next one, so they'll definitely be dueling it out.
I mean, they'll have Gallo ahead of them, Gowans, Knitska. De Bono will be up the top end of town. If he finishes where he is, he'll be in P3. So it's going to be a nice little shake-up for us, and then we may even see some of those cars in behind them get an advantage if they have a poor start, or if we see some, lap 1, turn 1 contact again. It's all open and it's all on for race number 2. So up towards the final couple of corners, Bellac has done well just to take advantage of others' mistakes, keep it clean and consistent, which is what he needed to do. And it's now all going to pay off for him. Round the tight hairpin down at the end of the massive back straight up through the final couple of corners now. Caleb Bellac, he did well here tonight. He's done well all season. He will cross the line to become the first 2-time winner in 2024 for the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals. An exceptional performance from him. But the question still remains, what would have been if Dixon hadn't taken out De Bono, or more or less taken himself out and really just lost contention? And if De Bono could have been up there really making a challenge. But that answer may be given to us in the next race. It'll be Brad Hudson on pole with Will Ryan starting alongside him on the front row of the grid. So it'll be a nice little shake-up for us. It was a good job there from Caleb to get up on the top step, and now he's just going to have to try and fight through the field to see if he can get a round win here tonight. Yeah,
definitely. Look, he's got the pace to do it. He's just got to pick his spots and pick the right moments to make the moves around here. It's some of these corners, they are off camber, so if you're on the wrong line, you're going for a slide. Or it makes it even harder to turn it in because you're trying to turn up the hill or whatnot. So he's just got to pick his moments and see if he can carve his way up.
So couple of drivers yet to cross the line at the end of this one, but the majority of the field is making their way back to the pit lane. We will then have a little warm-up session, and then we'll get into race number 2. So it should be a good run for us here for the rest of this race. But our provisional race results now for race number 1 here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get them up on screen for you. Caleb Ballack will take out P1 for Pioneer DJ Racing ahead of Darren Fahey in P2, with David Gallo finishing out a P3. Dougie Gowns will then come home in behind them in P4. Marcus Konitska will then make up the top 5. Then it'll be Sam Katakazinos in P6. He'll finish P1 for the Pro-Ams. Greg Bradley in P7. Dylan DeBono in P8. Will Ryan in P9. And then Bradley Hudson in P10. They will all be reversed for the grid for the next race. Starting just outside the 10. He just missed out on that pole position. It'll be Matty Gerard, then Mark Cochran. He finishes P1 for his class, so doesn't gain too many points on Rossender in behind, but gaining points is what is going to get him that championship at the end of the day. Andrew Johnston will finish P13, Rossender in 14th in behind. Then Caldwell, he'll back up the rest of the podium for the amateurs. He'll finish in P15. Then it'll be Daniel Byrne, Mark Turner, and Greg Johnston making up our top 18 here tonight for our first race. It'll then be Nick Schmalenberg, Matt Tessiero, Steve Singovich, Dean Singovich, Dave Roberts, Jay Dixon, and Kevin Wakefield making up the rest of the way for us all. We'll quickly bring up our Pro-Am, and amateur classifications there. There you can see it, top 11 cars, or the only 11 pros we had out there on track. That's how they all kind of finished in their order. And for our Pro-Ams, we only had 5 of them, and it was Katakazinos, Hudson, and Gerard on the podium for them. And then over to our AMs, of course, we have Cochrane finishing out a P1, Rossender and Caldwell make up the podium for race number 2. So it's going to be a good race here in race number 2 here tonight. Steph, we have got that little 5-minute warm-up, as I mentioned, and I'm sure most of the drivers out there will be likely just going to rehydrate, maybe use their facilities and just get ready for a 40-minute feature race here tonight for race 2.
Yeah, definitely. Having that little 5-minute gap in between the 20 and the feature is always handy. Go fill up the drink bottle or grab a freshie or whatever you want to do. It's always handy. Or you can always go out and cut some laps.
Maybe even practice your start if you weren't quite happy with it in race 1. I know that quite a few drivers across other leagues like to do that in their little warm-up sessions, or as you mentioned, just cut some laps. Comment from Peter Morris in the chat saying, I was supposed to race tonight. Damn work. Oh, we hate it when that happens. We would only hope that we could work around that and have it work out for us whenever we do go racing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go for a little break for ourselves. We'll come back at the start of the race, and then, you guys can just see some scenic views of Aragon Circuit with a couple of cars cutting some laps. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, after our little break. Got a cold drink, stood in front of the aircon for a second here because it is absolutely sweltering here in Victoria at the moment. But let's check out our starting grid here for our feature race here tonight. Of course, it will be as they finished in race number 1, except the top 10 has been reversed. Brad Hudson will start at a P1 here tonight. Header Will Ryan in P2 for Pace Syndicate there alongside him. Dylan DeBono will then start at a P3 ahead of Greg Bradley. In P4, it'll then be Sam Katakazinos and Marcus Kanitska in P5 and P6. Douglas Gowans in P7 with David Gallo in P8. Darren Fahey and Caleb Ballack will make up the top 10 here tonight. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how we've seen reverse grids in the past, Steph, just really change the, not the structure, but the landscape of the races, you know, as obviously it changes the top 10, but then you can kind of see some new challenges come into play. Some people get a little bit overzealous off the start trying to make up positions that they have lost through the reverse grid aspect, or if they've had a poor run in race 1. It's a hard reset now, but we're going to have to wait and see how they're really going to, you know, work out with this. I mean, they should be used to running reverse top 10s or, you know, sprint rounds because we've done it this season already. But, I mean, this track may offer a new challenge. It's unknown territory to run a sprint round here for us in the F3s. Yeah, definitely. Look, especially, you know, I'd be expecting the guys, you know, to be pushing from P9, P10, you know, Ballack and Fahey. Also, be expecting Jay Dixon to try and push up through the field on this one. Just go hell for leather on it, I would imagine. You know, you sort of don't want to be starting up the front and then have to try and push your way back. But unfortunately, that's how race 1 unravelled, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some not so popular moves being made. Maybe a couple of garish moves, we'll say, or some daring overtakes happening. Yeah, it's probably better wording for it. Not ideal overtakes. I mean, we already saw one of them happen in race 1, so why can't they happen in race 2? But we got 30 seconds of race control. Once it hits 3 minutes, that's when they will start to rev their engines up high and get ready to go racing. Only a couple of drivers not on the grid just yet, including Katakazinos and Turner. Ryan is now on the grid as well. We've ticked off the box of getting a double winner this season already, with Ballack becoming the first to do it. He starts from P10 in this one. They've all gridded up. We're going to get the lights going just now. Who's going to get the jump into turn 1 here for race number 2? Hopefully they can keep it nice and clean on the run here through turn 1. We get going. A little bit of tyre smoke in the background, but you can see already some drivers up the back there getting a good jump. I think it might be Jay Dixon on the inside there. Down through turn 1 we come. Oh, Ryan's already spun it. It's gone. And DeBono was caught out again. Oh, no. Katakazinos was involved too. Not Katakazinos, Kanitska was involved as well. So there was nothing that seemed like there was contact there. I think someone just, you know, losing the rear end. DeBono had to avoid, and he just had to run it out wide and miss out on that one. But what this has now done is it's now promoted Mark Cochran up into P6, Ballack up into P5. Fahey's lost out on Ballack. But now suddenly his job gets a little bit easier here tonight, trying to get that double win. It does, definitely. That was almost a mirror image start, sort of up the inside there. From race 1, it was, yeah, gonna be on this one. I mean, we've already seen it, turn 1, lap 1. You know, even off the start, going out, you know, 3-4 wide off the start, off the grid. So definitely gonna be on. I think as well, nothing there was really like, you know, safety car worthy, I would say. I didn't really see anyone have contact together. I know we saw, I believe it was Kanitska go into the wall, but I believe he is back going again. So no one's stopped up on track. So we should be right to keep going now. David Gallo, P3 at the moment. He's up 5 spots. Brad Hudson, though, still leads the way at this stage, and he's under pressure, though, from Greg Bradley in behind. And we could be on here for quite an interesting race for the rest of this one. If these top 5 can keep it nice and tidy here. Oh, no, Cochran's gone in the background. Oh, no. Oh, and there's contact there between him and Fahey. So P2 out of race 1 is dropping down the back of the order. Couple of
Douglas
checkups.
Gowans is caught up as well. He's dropping through the orders as well.
So it is absolutely going off out here in Spain. We're getting a good Spanish Inquisition into these incidents from race control, I am sure of it. Gowans brings it into Bono and Roberts are also in the lane. But it could be almost a domino effect here, and it could only be in due time that we find ourselves under safety car once again.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Jay Dixon, he's going to be cheering. He's up to P9. He's moved up 15 spots already in 2 laps. These incidences are definitely helping his cause to move up to the top. But yeah, just unfortunate there for that last one. Yeah, quite a few guys caught up in that.
So Mark Turner is out of this race. He did not even make the start line here tonight. So we now only have 24 drivers here in this race. Bradley wants it up the inside of Brad Hudson. It's the battle of the Brads, one with the first name, one with the last one. And the WA native just trying to clinch and hold on to this P1 at this moment in time. As we come through the little S section onto the back straight. And it is such a long run down here. All 4 of them are within tow range, and maybe we'll see a couple of little stamp licks happen into this tight hairpin down here. Gallo covers the inside line from Catakazinos in behind. Bradley wants it up the inside of Hudson. Will Hutto give? He does indeed. Bradley go!
Oh, he's burned! No!
And Gallo just tried to sneak it through then, and it has just absolutely gone into full collision mode. I mean, how long are we going to go, Steph, without getting another safety car at this point? Because they're driving like they just want to sit behind that Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, look, I kind of thought it's going to be on for young and old, this one. Everyone's going to be pushing, and they most certainly are pushing. It's a shame, you know. You see these guys, starting P1 all the way back to, P19, 20 in the pit lane. It's not a good sight to see, but you know what? It's giving us some good racing, and they're having a crack, which is awesome.
What it has done now is, though, it has changed up our podium positions. Bradley P1 to Catakazinos to Bellac to Gerard to Caldwell. That's the top 5. So we have one of every class in the top 5 at the moment. Then it's Dixon in P6. Byrne in P7, Johnston P8, Rossen to P9, and Schmalenberg P10. So the one who's really taken advantage of this is Mr. Dixon. 18 spots up from where he started. There's only 2 drivers with double-digit positions gained apart from him, those being Dean Sinkovich. He's up 11 at the moment after an unfortunate penalty for him in race number 1. And then Keegan Caldwell, he's up 10 as well, but he's got Dixon fast approaching. And nothing against Keegan here, but I don't think Jay's going to take very long to get past him, I'm going to be honest. I think he should be able to do this with ease, being that he's a pro and he's a multiple-time race winner, and Keegan's still trying to get his footing in this F3 car.
Yeah, you would think so. Just looking at the lap times last time around, Caldwell's slightly quicker than what Dixon is at the moment on that last lap, but yeah, it only takes one wrong corner. Or taking the wrong line into the corner, and it's that gap's gone.
So we're already getting into the 1 minute 50s now for fastest laps. Bradley had it last time by, and then Bellac just snipped it from the, off him pretty much there across the line. I was trying to get a metaphor out of myself, and then I realized, no, there's nothing really that I can say that's PC on that one, so I'm just not going to. But Bellac now the fastest man on track for that last lap. He did a 1 minute 50.45. Bradley did a 1 minute 50.88. So, and then surprisingly, Dixon's gone faster than Caldwell that last lap. He did a 50.97. So I'd say that Keegan's lap time, the lap before, was probably faster because Jay was probably trying to get past Byrne or trying to get past some other traffic. And that's kind of why, and Keegan probably had a bit of clean air. So don't be surprised now, once Jay gets us into tow range, it may not be very long till he gets past him and into the top 5. But I'm sure Keegan will be eating it up right now and loving the fact that he is leading his class. He is in the top 5, and the leader of the championship is all the way back down in P18 and P9 in class at this stage.
Yeah, it's a long way back for the championship leader. It is unfortunate sitting all the way back there, but look, there's still plenty of rounds to go to make up some spots.
On board now.
Strip out.
Oh, that's true. And this could just be his drop round. On board now with Jay Dixon. We'll see how fast he can get this thing down the straight. Just outside of tow range, so will not be maximum pace for him here down the straight. Balak and Kataxinos are battling up ahead, so we will switch to them in just a moment. Got to about 248 k's an hour there down the straight for Mr. Dixon. But back up here now with Balak and Kataxinos, and it is on for P2 of this race right now. Balak all over the Velocity SimLabs driver. And I'll have to see how long they can survive. Kataxinos, though, racing incredibly smart right now, covering that inside line. Balak went for the switchback, but, well, wasn't quite there in the end.
No, it's great coverage and, race awareness there from Kataxinos. Shut that down pretty quick.
A couple of comments here from Sheafy going, good luck to the Velocity lads. I'm going to enjoy this race while eating dinner. And saying my season's already gone, missed too many races. Well, if you didn't go to Japan, Sheafy, then your season wouldn't be over and done with. As Balak just shoots it up the inside. Kataxinos went for the switchback there, wasn't quite close enough. Do we reckon Sam just absolutely sends it down the inside at the end of the straight?
Sam is a very smart racer. I don't know if he'd just send it, but I think he'd definitely pick his moment. He's a very smart racer. He'll sit in behind. He'll put some pressure. He'll try and fake out here and there and pull back in. And yeah, he's a very smart racer in that respect. So I think he'll wait. He'll bide his time, and when the time's right, he'll send it.
I mean, maybe even if he waits for Balak to catch up to the back of Bradley, if he can. If he can hang on to the back of Balak here up to that point, then they can make it a three-way battle. And in that little three-way dance, he can kind of solo his way up into P1 while the other two are too busy fighting each other. Although he is faking it out now, so he did call that he'd go for the fake. A couple of drive-through penalties already. Car 78 is one of them to get one now. Contact with car 662 on lap 2. That would be for David Gallo, so that would be the contact there with Brad Hudson. So they've deemed that David was a bit too far up on it. Jace Douglas, great to have you here in the chat. Sheafy going, I'll always take a chance to travel, and then he's saying Sam to send it. So we'll wait and see what he does. Obviously, we look forward to Sheafy coming back and being able to do the Thursday night broadcast with JP. I know Cowie's hanging for him to be able to do it with JP and to get that chance. Phil saying no way these two race together the rest of the race without contact. Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I think they're gonna get real close, and they're gonna race real close as well. And they're already looking a bit feisty here at this stage, and we could see some contact happen if they're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. They are quite similarly matched, these two drivers. They've both got really good racecraft though, so you never know. Little mistake can happen. Frustration can creep in. If you can lose focus, especially with a 40-minute race. You can sort of have that little lapse in concentration. With these long straights, I know with myself, I get a little bit distracted with these long straights and forget to brake sometimes when we come up to the corners after those. But look, these guys, I would like to not see contact between them. Just hard battles. That'd be good.
I wouldn't mind seeing contact, just because it would then possibly give us some new podium finishes and shake up the championship a little bit and shake up the round servings as well for how points get put out. I've got a comment in the chat, by the way, from Mr. Iceman saying Mark just served a drive-through and got done speeding in pits. Well, he's done it to himself. That's kind of name of the game. You've got to make sure that limiter's on before you get in there, and even if it means you've got to take it a little bit easier into the lane, cannot afford to stack those penalties up, because it is just going to push you further and further back.
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunate he's copped that there. I know Mark does push entry to the absolute limit when he's pulling in, and he's always that last second hits the limiter. So it's unfortunate there, but he was doing well too. He moved up quite a few spots. So hopefully he can pull up some more spots coming up here in the rest of the race. Still a long way to go though.
So he now sits at the very end of the timing tower. You'd have to argue this would almost definitely be his drop round if he can't really do any better in this one. And I mean, because he just dropped way too many points. If it's not, he's having to let the traffic go already. So I can't really see an opportunity for him here just to to make up any positions at this stage in time. There's Dean Singovic. He's currently coming back. He's onto the podium already. P12 for him. He's just in behind Callum Rossender just up the road. So these two could be on for a good little battle here in a couple laps' time.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be on for Young and Hold in this second portion, I think.
Yeah, Phil saying auto pit limiter risk is not worth the reward. Yeah. I mean, I run manual pit limiter myself because, if you ever go into a session or an official, it doesn't allow you the auto pit limiter. Well, you're going to get into the habit of racing and just expecting your pit limiter to come on, and then it doesn't, and then you get done for speeding in the lane. So it's better just to have that manual pit limiter. You just have it set to a button you can easily reach to when you're coming in. And, well, normally, like, for example, if I'm coming up to the pit lane and I'm about 20 Ks faster than the entry point, like in the actual speed limit, I'll turn it on at that point, just lift up the throttle, car automatically just goes down to that 80, and then you're back on the throttle once it gets there. So, it does take a little bit of learning, but the habit's not hard to get into, and it's not very hard to break once you've got it as well. So,
no, I do the exact same thing. If I'm going a little bit too quick, whack it on a bit earlier and tap the brake or lift off, and you're good.
You see the field is just starting to spread now. There's no real little tight battles happening at this stage. Johnson's just up the road. He's trying to chase down Konitska. But I think possibly we're getting into kind of the realm of up towards pit stops.
Yep.
If we get into that period, we get a nice little shake up of the field. What we could then see is maybe some contact between cars, cause a safety car, and then we get going again for the final 15 or so minutes. So I'd say probably safe. I'd say they're going to have to come in for fuel, I don't know, 25 minutes in. They made 20 minutes before without one, so that's kind of my gut feeling.
Yeah, you're sort of looking at about, I would think, about the 20 minute, between the 20 and 25 minute mark. Probably see cars coming into pits. Highway, do they take another set? Do they just leave the ones on? I would think being sort of, this sort of track can be hard on tyres, but I mean it's at about 25 degrees currently, so the tyre wear might not be as high yet. Do you? This might be a bit of a strategy
They wouldn't
play,
go for tyres. They probably wouldn't go for tyres, as Phil's just
said.
It's because realistically, I mean, I look back and I think, how long's the stint, right? The stint is probably about an hour. There's no point taking. You're never going to take enough fuel to get you to cover the tyres.
Cover tyres.
You've also then got to be able to cover the fact the tyres are going to be cold, and you're going to have to get them up to temp again. And these things are atrocious. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 laps, and they are atrocious when they're on cold tyres and getting them up to temp. So it may not seem like the play, but it's better to be out there on scrubbed up tyres because they're not really going to drop temp too much, and they do start to come back after a while anyway. So. And that's some of the mistakes people make. Exactly, yeah. And that's a mistake that some people make, not just in the F3s, but in other races where if your race goes for an hour or less and they change tyres, and it's like, you don't need to because your stint length is going to be an hour. Apart from the GTPs, which their stints are always 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. So apart from those, you're generally going to be going for an hour on a stint anyway. If you're in a regular race, you don't need to change tyres because they're made to last that long. Other strategy plays then lead to, well, if you're an hour from the end of your race, or if you're a full tank away from the end of the race, you know that your tyres should last that long. So,
well, you would hope. As long as you're not locking up or.
Yeah, exactly.
So
if drivers can learn that, you can actually gain quite an advantage over people who still do it. And again, then you're also not dealing with cold tyres and stuff like that as well. So. It's one of those things. Dean Singovic has had an off track here, and he is dropping down the order. Oh, has he just cut that corner? Let's get back up on screen. Was this it here, or is this someone getting past? And this was Dougie Gowans passing Kevin Wakefield. Let's see how he does it here. Up the inside, makes it look easy. Nicely done. Well done, old fella.
Little lock of the brake there on the apex.
But this was Dean's incident. This is how it's happened here before him. He's also just had a crash. So, he hooked the curb and lost the rear end. But unfortunately, Mark Cochrane, his night has gone bad to worse. So he's coming up here to the final corner. Him and Dean have had an incident apparently. Oh, and he's just looped it.
Locked it.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's Dean, nowhere to go. Oh, he clipped him just slightly there. And again, that maybe just comes down to pushing that little bit too hard to make up what you've lost so far.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's real tough. Daniel Byrne in behind Jay Dixon now, so should be a good chunk of points for these boys in this race here tonight. Remembering as well, this is also the first round of the F1 Shadow Series as well. Currently leading that championship would be Caleb Ballack if he would have finished where he is, being that at this stage he would be winning the round, seeing as he finished first in race 1 and second in race 2. Phil Vella saying, I've heard people have shocking races from time to time. Yeah, that's true as well. Some people just have absolute shockers. Some people have better ones. The whole field's spread out at the moment, so basically we're just trying to talk about anything we can to do with these cars or to do with strategies, waiting for a little bit of spice to happen, and I wait for the heat to hit the pan at this stage in time. But Dixon and Byrne, I mean, these guys have been racing each other. They were racing each other all season last season, even with Phil Vella and Michael Cutajar in the championship. But now they are kind of the old dogs when it comes to who is historically the fastest out on track. You think of these two guys' names first, and there's a reason why they were battling it out for championships. Of course, Byrne won that F1 Shadow Series, even by missing quite a few rounds, but he was just uber consistent in those races and managed to take advantage of other people's mistakes as well.
Yeah, definitely. You got to be there ready to take the advantage when you get it. If you don't, then yeah, you'll be on the back foot. You got to take those advantages.
Phil Vella saying, I can't see a safety car coming out with the spread. Yeah, I'd say it's a bit hard with this kind of a spread, unless someone absolutely cakes it into the wall and they're stuck. Then I can't really see it happening between two cars. I'd say that's going to be our only, or if someone finds the door to the Shadow Realm in the middle of the track somewhere, if there's a bit of ground that's not been made properly or something like that.
Look, it could just be that one of these guys in the battle packs here, potentially spins mid corner and causes a pile up. It could be, won't take much.
Well, I mean,
especially with these with the open wheelers, it doesn't take a great deal.
No, it doesn't. And we saw Dean nearly collect Mark at the end of this straight. Maybe if that had happened at a blind corner and he didn't have time to react, maybe he would have collected him and that would have been it.
That's right.
Yeah, Phil was saying, so a lot of time can be found in pits. It can. So if the strategy play can work out for them, then we could see maybe some jumps or maybe some undercuts happening. Catagazinos is far off the back of Ballack, but Ballack's not really running at a fast enough pace at the moment to catch Bradley, but something could happen. Jason saying, what happened to Gowans? How come he's down 8 positions? Where is Doug? Here he is here. Let's see what he's done to drop so many spots. I can tell you what he's done. He's gone into the pits. He's had a pit stop.
Pitted.
So we're getting into pit stop period at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, although he pitted on, lap 10. So he was one of the first to come in alongside Greg Johnston. So they've come in and done their pit stop. Dean Sinkovich is now in the lane. Oh no, Dougie came in on lap 1. So he's not pitted just yet. Mark Cochrane's had another incident, although he's still going. I reckon he may have just looped it possibly.
Yeah.
Or pulled it up.
He's pushing hard to try and make up some spots and get back on the lead lap, I think.
Yeah. So what's happened to Dougie? Spots. I've not got anything on my screen that would make me believe why he's dropped spots. Although he did come in on lap 1, so that may have been why that happened.
Mark's gone again.
Oh, he has too. He wanted to put a show on for us since he was on screen.
He has. That's right.
Yeah. Always, he's such a people pleaser, just giving us a show. As we look back at Dougie, who's coming up on the back of him now. So yeah, I think Dougie was caught up in that first sort of little incident that happened, and then now he's just dropped off because of being in the pits and stuff like that. So Have to wait and see what works out for him here, though. Will likely need another pit stop. We'll have to see what happens at the end of this. Gerard is now on the back of Catagazinos as well. Actually, no, he's got Byrne up behind him. So Byrne's actually gotten past Jay Dixon at this stage in time. So we are now kind of getting ready to kind of get into that pit stop period as you mentioned. This was how Byrne did it, as Bellac and Dixon have come in as well as Caldwell. This is how it happened. So it was down at the end of the straight, made it look easy. Dixon let him have it. He knew he was going to come in the lane. And he just continues on. So it'll be interesting to see how this now plays out with Dixon, Bellac, Caldwell, Rossender, and Tessiero all in the lane. Bellac has come out. He's going to come out about 3 seconds ahead of Nick Schmalenberg. But we could be on here for something interesting. One thing we haven't really spoken about as well, Steph, is with Mark kind of struggling at the moment, is there maybe an opportunity if he makes a mistake, and as I mentioned, just yeets it into the wall, that we get a safety car off the back of that as well, because he is struggling out there at this time.
He is, yeah, definitely. Look, if there is a safety car, it's there is potential to make up that bit of ground, but. Yeah, I feel for him. I do feel for him because I know he was putting in a bit of practice this afternoon. I was at work and I was getting some notifications of his lap times. As to what he was doing. So, I know he was putting in some times this afternoon. So it is a shame to see him now push to try and make up the spots, but it's just not working in his favour. Maybe a safety car will turn the tables and get him back in.
So Phil just said there, he said, I hope Kayla didn't cross unsafe pit exit line just then. He went outside the white line, but we'll have to wait and see what happens if he cops anything for that. I'm not 100% sure. Anthony Carr from the chat saying been looking to get into IndyCar racing on sim. Well, this is not necessarily IndyCars, but the open wheelers are still a good pathway to get into IndyCar. Bradley is now in. Bellac's coming down the main straight. He is going to take the lead of this race from Greg Bradley, quite possibly. Oh, it's going to be uber tight between them. Ooh. Here comes Bellac up the inside, and he has got P1, so the undercut has worked out for him here over Greg Bradley, and now Caleb Bellac could be on his way to not only the first double win this season, but the first double win in a single round, and make himself a 3-time winner in the course of one night. But Bradley is still hard up on the rear of him here. Will put major pressure on him. See you, Anthony. I mean, if you wanted to get in on the sim for them, there's a good pathway for open wheelers. Obviously, there's a new open wheeler license coming in next season. The road licenses are splitting to sports car and open wheelers. These F3 cars are a bit better to get into if you want to get into F1. If you want to get into IndyCar, then you want to kind of focus on the Indy Lights. You can also do maybe some Super Formula stuff as well, but yeah, I'd say getting into the Indy Lights, making your way up through the through the service on the road. I mean, obviously IndyCar also does oval stuff as well, so you'd have to be working on both licenses for that one.
Yeah, ovals are a bit of fun. I had a crack at the Daytona 500 just recently. Ovals are fun. I haven't done one in an Indy car, but I'm sure it would be just as good.
Well, the Indy 500's coming up midway through the year, so you could
better
have
get
an
my
opportunity
practice
there.
Yeah. Yeah, better get some practice in for that one. Never know. Give it a crack.
There's a bit of a move happening in the background there between Byrne and Gerard. No worries, all good, Anthony. So yeah, just keep an eye on those open wheeler series, the Super Formula series, and the brand new Super Formula Light series that'll be coming out. Again, that's kind of more focused towards the road racing side of things. Currently Formula 4, Formula C, Formula B, Formula A. That's kind of your F1 stuff. Your F1, F2, F3, F4. And then, yeah, your IndyCar stuff is more like your Indy Lights, and then into your IRO1 sort of stuff as well. A couple other drivers into the lane now as well, Steph, including Dylan DeBono, Dougie Gowans, David Gallo. Yep. Cochrane has not come back out on track, so do we reckon maybe this might be over for him tonight?
It is possible, definitely possible. Look, I would like to think not, but yeah, he might have sort of, yeah, just trying to regroup or called it a night. Looks like he's out of the car, unfortunately, so he's potentially called it a night and not exiting out, so he keeps some laps, some points to finish.
Well, I guess you could also say that maybe it's kind of, he knows this will be his drop round. He doesn't want to get in anyone's way, and instead of keeping on going and possibly not making anything up, being that the spreads are so big, it's kind of the smart move just to pull out at this point and refocus and then come back next week even stronger.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he probably, like you said, doesn't want to get in the way, and these guys, when they're in a pack, that they are battling quite hard. And it's one of those things, I know myself, if I'm a lap down or whatnot, I'm coming up with the leaders are coming up or whatever, you don't want to impede them. You don't want to slow one down and the other then get the advantage. It's not a nice feeling, if that does happen. So, I can see where he's coming from if that's what he's done.
Also, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon as well so you are notified anytime we go live with our racing over our 6 nights a week that we go racing here in Sim Racing World TV. And also hit the like button as well. Get into the chat if you haven't already. Get into the comments if you're watching after the stream is over. Any engagement we get will help us, grow the channel, grow the league, grow the series, so we can offer you guys more fantastic racing just like this we have seen here tonight. And possibly offer up some new series for drivers to race in as well. And hopefully in future we can offer some international series as well. But we're on the brake pedal a little bit on that just at this stage. Anthony in the chat as well saying, had to be watching. My sim is completely powered down due to tornadoes in my area. Well, hopefully you can stay safe. We're saying ran some exhibition on dirt with a Formula V, I believe the class is called. I've done Formula Vs around Crandon. It is absolutely hectic, but every time you go over a jump, the car just brakes immediately. Like, they are not made for that, but it is so hilarious to run around there in a little matchbox car like the Formula V.
Yeah, Formula V are a lot of fun. They're a great little car to start out in Opal Wheeler. They're a great car.
I would almost say, personally, I prefer Formula V on dirt than I do on tarmac, because at least I can control the slide when it happens in that car. Of course, you can also go down the route of Formula 1600s as well, which is Formula Fords. There's a heap of open wheel stuff on iRacing for you to get into and to have a good crack on as well. And just a good offering up for you. Big thank you as well, as I should have mentioned, goes out to our series sponsors as well. Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, NeuroPower, DSL Rail Services, Shunt Scenery, Grim Industries. Big thank you, and Motorsport Australia. Big thank you to everyone for supporting the series and for supporting the channel as well. What's your input on the SRX class coming? I think that car looks sick. I wish I was kind of hoping it was actually going to be a road class, to be honest. Like, it looks pretty sweet. Looks almost like a Trans Am type of car. Could be pretty cool. I mean, when it comes to dirt, I'm more into racing like the Pro trucks, like Pro 4, Pro 2 Lite and stuff like that. Big fan of the Pro trucks, but I think it's cool. It's going to give us something new to really have a good crack out as well. Jonathan Smith in the chat saying, "Go Callum, go." Mr. Rossender is doing pretty well at the moment. P12, he's up 2 spots in class and overall. Currently sitting P2 in the amateurs, so he's doing very, very well. If you guys are confused by the colours of the timing tower, what they mean: green means they are in the pro class, black means they're in the pro-ams, silver means they are in the amateurs. So that is the colour coding. And the blue with the gold number, that's who we're looking at the moment, and that being Callum Rossender as we stand. Oh, yeah. Anthony, you should chat to Sheafy. He loves sprint cars. If Tyler's still out in the chat, maybe he can try and get in contact with you. You guys can chat all things sprint cars, because he absolutely froths them.
I haven't had a go in the sprint cars yet, so it's on the list.
Yeah, one of my... Well, really only for Dirt Oval. I've only really done like the street stocks, even the Dirt Legends as well. I've never really gotten into sprint cars, but as I mentioned, I'm more of a a pro truck kind of dirt racer, getting into Cranberry, Wild West and stuff like that. Absolutely love it.
I love the good jump trucks. They're great fun.
They're so good. So as it stands, we are under 10 minutes to go. Lap 18 of proceedings. It currently stands with Bellac P1 to Bradley to Gerard to Byrne to Catagazinos. That's the 5. Dixon, Kanitska, Caldwell, Ryan Johnson. That's the 10. Just outside is DeBono, Rossender, Tessuero, Schmalenberg, and Singovic. That is the 15. Sprint cars are really tricky now with tyre wear. Oh, very interesting. Yeah. I'd be interested to see, although they're not getting rain straight away, how the dirt cars are actually going to go with the rain, because in dirt, the wetter the track is, the more grip you actually have, surprisingly. I'm not sure quite how that works, but it just does.
I think that'll probably be one of the last ones to get the rain, I would think. The amount of work that's gone in for up to this point, you know, for the road, for tarmac, I would think that's probably a little bit further away.
Yeah, I think it's likely going to be obviously the Tempest rollout for road, and then I think I don't know if we'll even get it for oval, because they normally don't run races in the wet for oval.
No.
So that may also mean that it goes road and then maybe into dirt road and then dirt oval. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like NASCAR, they will just move their race to the next day if it's raining. And then if it's going to rain past that, I believe they just cancel it. Because it's obviously way too dangerous to be racing at those speeds around an oval on a wet track.
Oh, look at NASCAR's carnage without rain. Could you imagine if they added rain? I don't think there'd be a straight paddle or a straight car at all come by the end of the race.
I don't think there would be. To be honest, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to have that. I think you'd have to almost ring up the tow truck companies beforehand, just get as many as you can there, ready to go, and just be like, look, we're going racing in the rain. You might as well be ready. Maybe just put some race numbers on the tow trucks and they can just tow the cars around just to be a bit safer.
Yeah, they can have a race that way.
So, I mean, Gerard, Byrne and Catagazinos, their gap is about 1.5 seconds. This battle's been brewing now for a couple of laps, but they're not really getting up and close onto each other. And I mean, both races have kind of been two different kind of styles of racing here, Steph. I mean, the first one was nice and close, had a heap of battles happening, and then in the second one, they've kind of all just spread out here throughout this, and almost they're taking a little bit easier than race one here tonight.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that. But then again, you know, this one is a longer race, but if you've got that big gap, it's hard to close it up again. I am actually a little bit surprised at how spread out they are. I mean, it's not a short track. It's not the shortest out there. It's not the longest either, but yeah, I thought there probably would have been some closer battles around than what there is.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I know we were talking pre-race, this track's more or less set up for MotoGP, you know, for superbikes and stuff like that. It's not really a car racing track per se, in terms of its style. Well, I would think it would suit these cars quite well. I mean, they're open wheelers, they're high downforce, they should be able to cut some quick laps. I don't know, I mean, it's a hard one to call. I wouldn't mind seeing supercars around here, actually. I reckon that'd be a proper challenge. So we have Byrne wanting it up the outside of Gerard, not quite close enough that time by though, but yeah. I mean, obviously we've seen the supercars go to tracks like Magny Cool, where we were last week for the F3s.
That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Supercars around there, he's tough.
Oh, there's contact between them! And Gerard's gone off!
He's gone.
Oh, Anthony the Chaz was saying, as an Aussie, you sound like a musician I follow called Taj Farron. I'm not sure who that is. I've never heard of them, but I'll take it. I'll take any expression I can get, and any comparison. But that has now cost Gerard the lead of the amateurs and a podium here tonight. There could be questions for race control about it. He has called, Bradley's called something in, but I think Byrne may be on for something now off the back of that, Steph. I don't think he's going to be on the podium for very long, I'm going to be honest.
No, it's I don't think. Yeah, I think Sam might be. He's slowly closing that in slightly.
He is.
Damn is quick. I've seen him race in many different cars, and he's quick no matter what he's in.
Well, not just that. I mean, Daniel, maybe it could be on for a penalty if there's no net code involved.
Well, that's true.
We'll get a replay of it. We'll check it out, how it happened. Andrew Johnson's also had an incident as well, so we'll pick that one up in a moment as well. Byrne was going for the outside there of Sinkovic. They come round. Now, there was a bump there for sure. You could see how the car just bounced up. That was not self-inflicted.
Yeah.
That was contact for sure. If we go, we'll go on board with Byrne on it. So yeah, there's contact.
There's contact. Yeah, I was gonna say hopefully that's net code, but I don't want to put any influence or anything out there. But you see his wheel turn to the right slightly.
Yeah, we can't really talk about if it's obviously deliberate. I don't think it was. I think maybe he was just trying to readjust with the corner.
Just trying to readjust himself. Yeah, might have a bit of a slip going on or something.
And then Johnson.
Don't leave that to race control.
Exactly. That's all we can do. There has been. I don't know if there was a call for a safety car that or not. I saw on my timing that the safety cars jumped to pits. Maybe they're prepping for a safety car. I don't know. I doubt it. We're past the point of possibly having safety cars. We do not have them within the last 5 minutes. So we should go safety carless. May not be a word, maybe, in this in this second race. Ballack has led most of the way. He is 8 seconds ahead of his next opponent in Greg Bradley. So it has been a walk-away performance for him here. I believe this will be the final lap of the... Actually, no, he's going to cross the line before we're up to 40 minutes. So I think we may get one more in this one.
Yeah, definitely. It's only just clicked over to 39 minutes now. So I think, yeah, there might be one more in it.
So, I mean, it's been good to see Ballack have some consistency about him here tonight. This is what he needs for the rest of the season. You know, he just needs to get that consistency going, get comfortable in the car, just make those calculated moves instead of, you know, being so reactive sometimes. We saw some reactive moments from him this season, but it is really, really good to see him do well here tonight, and you've got to give him some flowers for the fact that he's actually had such a strong run, and he's been able to avoid those avoidable incidents. It's been really, really good to see from him. But final lap of the race, Ballack is only a couple of kilometres away from taking not only his third victory of the season, but a round win here tonight, becoming the first driver to win both races in a sprint affair for SRW TV this season. It's been exceptional from him. Bradley currently on the podium. Byrne, we got a question mark over whether he's going to cop a penalty or not. Incident involving cars 169 and car 808 on lap 20 post-race investigation. So that podium may not stand, although we cannot talk about what kind of penalty would be given. It may not stand at this stage. From my perspective, I don't think it will. I'm not saying it shouldn't or it should. I don't particularly think it will, but again, it's up to race control on what they think when investigating that one. So, Catacazinos, he could be on for a amateur win, but also an overall podium, which would be absolutely exceptional for him. Caldwell's on for a victory as well in the amateurs. It's going to be tough to call, but down the back straight we come now for the final time. Ballack has done exceptionally well here tonight. Anthony Carf in the chat again saying 10-4 run, or 10-4 run against Aussies before. Sean Stevens with Wobby Racing is a tough person. I'm not 100% sure who that is either. No. I'm going to be honest. But up through the final couple of corners now for the second time tonight, Caleb Ballack will cross the line P1, taking out his third victory and getting a healthy chunk of points in this championship fight. This, I reckon, would take him possibly up even onto the top 3 of the championship. We'll have to wait and see, though, how the points look before next week. Bradley P2, Byrne in P3. A little bit of an asterisk there. Yeah, a bit of an asterisk. Catacazinos in P4, P1 in class. Gerard P2 in class, but P6 overall. And then Caldwell in P8 with P1 in class to his name. That's a good little class victory there for Keegan.
Definitely.
It was a good race here tonight for him. Rossender is looking to come over the line in P2 for the amateurs. Johnston's going to come home P3 for the Pro-Ams. So pretty healthy run for him tonight. He will not lose too many points on Gerard for their class, and then it'll be Rossender and Tessiero not too far behind, making up the amateurs. So we will be looking up, probably speaking to our overall podium, being Caleb Ballack, Greg Bradley, Daniel Byrne, and then our Pro-Am winner, Sam Katagizinos, and our amateur winner in Keegan Caldwell. So we'll see if they are wanting to come and have a chat to us and see how they go here to, if they are going to come and talk to us. I've just noticed as well, Steph, Keegan is now a C-class driver. He's actually gained a license, although his safety rating is down at 2.05, so maybe he needs to do some more officials and get that safety rating up a little bit. But he ran consistently here tonight, though, which is good to see, and he's done well to do so. Yeah, definitely. Look, he's had a good run tonight. Having a quick look, he's made 7 spots in that last one there. Not the quickest lap out there, but or lap time overall out there today, but make up that 7 spots and keep it clean. Clean is ideal. Clean and consistency will move you up the order normally. So it's good to see him get up there in the top 10 tonight. He did exceptionally well to do so, as we mentioned. We'll bring up our provisional feature results now for race number 2. It'll be Caleb Ballack, P1, ahead of Greg Bradley in P2. Daniel Byrne will come home in P3, with Sam Katagizinos coming home P1 for the Pro-Ams. P4 overall here tonight. Jay Dixon will then make up the top 5, just ahead of Matt Gerard out of P6. Then it'll be Marcus Kanitska out of P7, with Keegan Caldwell coming home P1 for the AMs, P8 overall. Then be Will Ryan in P9, with Dylan DeBono making up the top 10. Andrew Johnston will then come home P2 for the Pro-Ams, P11 overall, with the last of the... he'll come home P3 in the Pro-Am, sorry to apologise. And then P2 and 3 for the amateurs, P12 and 13 overall for Callum Rossender and Matt Tessiero. It'll then be Dougie Gowans in P14, with David Gallo making up the top 15 here tonight. Nick Schmalenberg will then come home in P16. We then move down to P17 in Dave Roberts, with Greg Johnstone in P18. Dean Singovich will then beat out his brother once again to P19. Brad Hudson will then come home P20. He showed so much promise off the start, starting P1, then unfortunately just lost it in the end. Darren Fahey will finish P21 ahead of Kevin Wakefield, Stephen Singovich. Mark Cochran will come home 11 laps down, and that will be our last driver on the standings, as Mark Turner did not make the start for this one. Big thank you once again goes out to our race controllers in Greg Leake, Tyson McAvoy, and Greg Barber here tonight. We will quickly show off our provisional classifications. There are our pros. That's how they stood at the end of this one. Bellac will take the round win, as we mentioned. And then for the Pro-Ams, this is how they stood after that one there. Only 4 of them out there in the second race. And then on to the amateurs. This is how they ended up. Caldwell, Rossender, and Tessiero was our podium for that one. So, Steph, it was a good race. Good couple of races, actually. A little bit spread out in the second race, we'll say. But first one was an absolute cracker. And there was some good strategy play as well from a couple of drivers, namely Caleb Ballack to jump Bradley out of the pits. Yeah, definitely. That was a great move. Get that jump. It's hard to pick sort of, when to pit. If you can jump someone, if you can and you think you can, definitely go for it, because look, it paid off tonight for Caleb. So you never know. It's always worth a shot. That's it, mate. 100%. So we will get our replays happening. We'll get our chats in to some of our winners and our podium finishes. We have got Callum Rossender in there, but unfortunately, we did say last week we only speak to the winners of the amateurs and the Pro-Ams. There is Keegan. We'll head on board with him, and then we will have a chat to him. That's not the one. That's the one right there. And then we'll drag him in. Where is Keegan? Oh, Keegan's not even there. He's not even there yet. Wow. Wow. Oh, well, we'll bring in Sam then instead. We'll chat to Sam first, since he is actually in there. Mr. Catagazinos, a P4 on the road tonight, but P1 in class, and a bit of an asterisk over our current P3's finishing position, being there is a post-race investigation. So this could turn out to be a podium for you. We'll have to wait and see what race control say, but that was an intense one early on for both races.
Hello and hi, and my God, am I so tired after a 38-degree day. I can't believe that I kept the car on track. It's about usually the second half of the second race where all bodily fluids have left my body and I'm just dehydrated and whatnot. But I'm so happy with tonight. It's been an amazing night of racing for me. Try to improve my consistency, and it worked out a treat. I'm very happy with it. I'm completely very happy. Normally I'm the one who's at the front and say, and
Well,
also just sends myself to the back.
Well, I mean, you had some good performances here tonight, of course. 2 top 10s for both races, and then obviously with a looming possible overall podium finish here in the second race. We don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it might. How's it feel to get that P1 for the Pro-Ams at least?
Feels pretty good. Race one, I felt pretty confident, and I actually took a while, but I successfully passed a pro, Mr. Bradley, and I had to do it in a place where I had advantage. It certainly wasn't going to be in a draft to pass section like the end of the straight. And second race, I had Caleb behind me, and I tried to keep him behind me. But that sneaky bugger got through, and away he went. He just flew. And then by the end of the race, after all the shuffling with the pit stops, noticed that Jay was behind me, and I was able to stay in front of him. He's probably going to tell me he had an incident or something, and he's got some wing damage, but I'm happy to stay in front like that. So,
You'll take it either way.
I will take it. I will take it. I'm happy.
All right, mate. We won't hold you for too much longer. Let us know who's giving you the support out there. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? Now's your time to do so.
Excellent. Velocity Sim Labs, the new team that I've joined. All the drivers in Velocity Sim Labs and administration. You guys, SRW, for running the league. The drivers that show up and make it a race. And Hamish and Stephanie, you two for being able to broadcast it and share it with everyone. So all of you, thank you very much.
Now, Sam, was this your first class win, or have you had one before? I can't exactly remember, I'm going to be honest.
For this season, I think it's yes.
Okay, very good. Welcome.
I haven't had a very good season so far. It's my best result.
Well, hopefully this is now the turning point for you, being the halfway point of the season. You get this class win out of the way, and now hopefully you can continue to shine and perform like this for the next 4 rounds. But congratulations once again, mate, for your P1 in class, your P4 here tonight on the road, possibly looming a P3. We'll have to wait and see. Best of luck next time out, and if we don't speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, and I also like how my name is in the standings. Pam Sam, a nice touch. Got a ring to it.
Very good, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, guys and girls.
Catch you, Sam.
We'll now bring in Mr. Keegan Caldwell. Keegan, we snuck you in here last time because you didn't realise that podium finishers do not get in here for amateurs, but this time you got in here on your own merit. You got in here on a win. I don't think Callum's got the other message that he's not actually going to be in here tonight, so unfortunately he's sitting there for no reason. But you finally pulled out some consistency, and you pulled out a quality effort here tonight. Not only a top 10, but also P1 for the amateurs. How does that feel?
It feels really good. Like, first podium for SRW in the F3s. I've raced, like, out of all the classes I've been here, I've done the V8s, SRW, the 86s and everything. Didn't feel confident in them, but coming to the F3s, I've got my C class, so I'm starting to do a lot of the F3s, and I think from all that official racing, I've probably got more confidence in them.
Found your groove.
I found my absolute groove. I'm actually excited for tonight. a bit. Yeah, I wish I got that win in the sprint. Would have been 2 for 2, but that little spin coming off the front big back straight would have ended my race.
So how does it how does it feel now being able to race these cars more often, being obviously you have them in the officials? One thing I'd say to you is if you want to up your game in this series, focus on those officials, get into these cars in the officials, because it will obviously give you the track time that you need. But how does it feel to obviously have that as an opportunity now, but also actually start to be able to put focus on one kind of car, and you can already see the improvement happening since being able to do so?
Yeah, it's been really good. Like, I think the first few F3 races I had, I think, back of the grid. I think I was getting a few qualifications. And I think after a few more, I just started focusing and just more trying to battle but not crash.
I guess that's the all important thing, isn't it? Just trying to get into those battles, drive close, but not so close that you're hitting somebody else. So it's good to see you've had these these improvements over this season. Hopefully you can continue that run, and maybe in future we'll see you in the old Pro-M class and maybe eventually up in the pros. I'll have to wait and see, but hopefully you can get that seat time in, get some more improvement happening, and you can make this more of a regular affair. Is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to, mate, or anyone that you need to let us know about if they're giving you some support or anything like that?
Yeah, GeForce Racing, they're probably my first sponsor for the Rapid iRacing team, and Sway's Fit. And that's probably it.
Very good, mate. Well, thanks for coming over to chat to us. Congratulations once again on victory here tonight and a top 10 finish. Best of luck next time out, and if we don't speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Well, we will now drag in, I think we'll drag in both Daniel and Greg. Actually, no, we'll drag them both in, I think, actually. We'll do that.
Bring them both in.
Yeah. Daniel Byrne and Greg Bradley, our P3 and P2 finishers here tonight. We'll start with you, Daniel. Obviously, the obvious thing we want to speak about, and you're gonna get really put underneath the magnifying glass here. What happened with Mr. Gerard and you two having a bit of a coming together? It's not like you to have that sort of an incident.
I'll have to have a look back at that. Definitely wasn't intentional. We were having a good race. Prior to that, there was a couple of laps there where I was trying to cool the tyres down, and I was racking up some off tracks as well. So I tried to take it easy, and then I was thinking, all right, I'll have a good run. By the end of the race, the tyres should be grippy, and I should be able to attack. But yeah, I was on the inside, and it was a tricky section that we were going through side by side, and I'd have to have a look back at. We just clipped a little bit, and it sent him flying, unfortunately. But definitely not what I wanted, not the result I wanted. Especially because he's in Pro-Am and I'm in the Pro League, so it's, you know what I mean. It makes it even worse that I've sent him back potentially if I did something wrong there. So yeah, a bit upset about that, but happy with the result though in the end. I think I started 16th and made my way up there, so pretty happy with that.
I mean, yeah, you had a good run regardless tonight. We had a bit of a look at the incident. It kind of almost just looked like your car just started to drift wide a little bit, and a bit of a loss of grip. You both have a bit of a coming together. We can't really talk about what the penalty might be. Obviously, we're not in race control, but I think the fact that it wasn't a malicious type of thing. You didn't take him out deliberately. It's just one of those moments that happen on racing. You guys are racing wheel to wheel. Could have happened to anybody out there. So I think, you still showed you have the pace. Maybe your F1 charge this season hasn't started off on the best foot as what you may have wanted. But I still think, to have the pace to make up so many positions, get onto the pro podium, get a P3 in you, whether the overall P3 has an asterisk or not, we're not 100% sure. But you still had a great run, and I think that's the main thing. A little bit of bad luck in the first race, but that comes with racing, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think you've been having a pretty good run this season. You're in the fight for the championship still. How are you feeling going into the next couple of rounds here for the latter half of the season?
Yeah, pretty good. Always seem to be kind of near the pointy end, so that's good. Just trying to stay consistent and desperately trying to avoid incidents like that. Because it ruins potentially my race and someone else's race. So we never want that. But yeah, looking forward. There's a lot of good tracks coming up, so it should make for good racing. There's a couple of scary tracks there with some walls on the side that could cause some issues. But yeah, really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Very good, mate. Well, let us know who's giving you support out there. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? Now's your time to do so.
Yeah, sure. Shout outs to Carlin's Motorsport, Driver 808 on YouTube, Glam Raider, Australia's largest viral online beauty store, Little Rara, wines from Victoria's popular Purin Vineyard. Good luck to them. There's fires out there, so we're praying for them tonight. Eagers Automotive, Australia's largest automotive retail group.
Very good, mate. Well, congratulations on P3 on the road here tonight. Best of luck for the rest of the season, as we mentioned, and hopefully you can get that next win on the board coming up here throughout the. I mean, obviously next week's Bathurst. Anything could happen, and just sneak your way up there once again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We'll see how we go. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. Well, Mr. Bradley, you held the lead for a period of time there, and then Mr. Ballack snuck it past you on the exit of the pits and kind of ran away with it. What was going through your mind when you saw him on your inside and just sneak it on through as you come out there?
Oh, I had a feeling it was happening. The sort of 3 laps leading up to the pit, he closed in on me, and I think he's just too good tonight.
I mean, what was kind of your strategy coming into this one? I mean, obviously you gained the lead after there was some contact with Hutto and another driver out there, and then you held that lead up until the pit stop period. What was kind of number one the thought process coming into this race to start with? What changed when you took over the lead, and then what changed when Caleb actually came past you after the pits?
I don't know if I really had the pace here tonight, so I wasn't expecting to lead or to win. I just wanted a clean race, which, except for one spin at the hairpin, I mostly had. My goal was to keep it clean, and I came close to that and got a decent result from it.
Now, how you feeling going into Bathurst next week? I mean, it's obviously a tough track. Anything can happen, especially in these open wheelers around there. It's real bumpy and real fast. Do you think maybe you could sneak your way up onto the podium again, or maybe we could get a surprise winner out of it as well? I mean, it's either going to go two ways, isn't it? It's going to be a crash fest, or it's going to be wheel-to-wheel racing with no real losers out of it.
Oh, no doubt it'll be a crash fest. It's Bathurst. Open wheelers, it's bound to end that way.
Well, mate, you've done incredibly well to get home in P2 here tonight. Steph, have you got anything you want to ask Greg before we get him to give the shout-outs and let him go?
Not off the top of my head right now.
That's all right. That's all good. Well,
yeah, no.
That's all right. That's all good. Well, Greg, let us know who's giving you the support out there, mate. Anyone else you want to give a shout-out to as well? Now's your time to do so.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and Race Control for bringing everyone together for a great series. Shannon's for sponsoring the event. I've got to thank Andrew from Andreg for keeping me company during the race. P. Willow, but most of all, Phil's wife, Monica. It's all about Monica. Thank you.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck out at Surviving Bathurst next week, and if we don't speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Let's drag in our winner for tonight, Mr. Bellack. Well, last week we left you out of the commentary box after a questionable incident happened between you and another driver, Caleb. But you managed to back that up here tonight by putting your car on the podium. Not only putting it on the podium, but getting a double win.
Yeah, I managed to really capitalise on a couple of key mistakes from my competitors and do a really good race to get ahead and ultimately win them by a good margin.
Well, mate, I mean, we've obviously we've been somewhat vocal in the past, and we kind of spoke about a little bit here tonight about you've had some inconsistent runs in the past, but it's so good to see you finally get some consistency out of this car, and out of yourself, obviously out on track. I mean, we kind of alluded to it. If you can keep this sort of performance up, you're really going to be a proper challenger in the championship come the end of the season. How does it feel now to gratify that, getting up to not only your second win, being the first driver to get to 2 wins this season, but getting to your 3rd win and taking out a double win over a sprint round?
Oh, well, I mean, it feels pretty good, it's like I've been struggling this season to get the breakthrough that I needed, but I've done it now, and that's what I really needed to hopefully then kickstart my campaign and get some more points behind me.
Well, I mean, it's it's been up and down this season for you, obviously. A couple of struggles out there, but as I mentioned, it's good to see that you've managed to get this up, and it's good to see that you are seeing the positives from this gain and this growth now. How are you feeling heading into Bathurst next week? Obviously, it's a tough track. It's a tough event for an F3 car, and I mean, any small mistake could lead to drastic changes of the race layout itself.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I'm pretty sad that it's only an hour endurance. I would have loved for it to be even longer. I think Bathurst is going to be an awesome challenge in the F3. It's going to push us, be very physical, and make sure that we're all on our game, know the track, can't miss a marker, or you're going to be in a wall. It's going to be really hard. Lots of safety cars.
Yeah, I think that's almost a definite coming for next week. One quick final one, mate. We've seen you. We'll call them. We've seen you go for some garish moves in the past, and we didn't really see that from you tonight. You're a lot more calculated and kind of composed when going for your overtakes. Is it something that you're trying to put into your racing now a lot more than in the past? And do you think that's maybe then leading to getting these more consistent and overall better results out of it as well?
Yeah, well, I think obviously with every overtake there's a bit of risk, and tonight was about minimising risk, getting that banker points, and we did that ultimately by making the pass in the pit stop, which had the least risk possible. We pit a lap early, pushed on the out lap, and managed to get Greg. So yeah, I think you're right. We've got to minimise the risks as best as we can to make sure that I'm not in as many incidents, because finishing race in P10 gets you a heck of a ton more points than if you finish it in P20 or you don't finish it.
That's exactly right, mate. You lose a lot more making a mistake and trying to make back up from what you've lost than just by consolidating what you've got and then pushing on forward in another attempt later on. But let us know who's giving you the support out there, mate. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well, as you've more than well earned it by getting your 2nd and 3rd victory of the season.
Yeah, obviously got to start by thanking my team, SLM Motorsport and Matty Keane, for helping me tonight. Don't think I could have done it without him. There was a couple of tricky situations. He really got me on the fuel strategy and managed to get me the pass for the win. And Pioneer DJ, sponsor on the side of the car, helping me.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck out at Bathurst, and if we don't speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks.
Well, Steph, again, as we mentioned, tonight's racing was a bit of a tale of 2 stories, we'll say. First race was a bit more hectic, we'll call it. A little lively. A bit more lively, we'll say. The second one, we had a bit more of a spread, but there were some real good strategy plays in it as well. So we kind of got a little bit of everything here tonight. Obviously, Bathurst next week. How do you think these drivers are going to go? Namely, how do you think Mark's going to go leading into what could possibly be one of the most hectic affairs we've seen, not just this season, but over the past year of F3 racing?
I know Mark's got a lot of laps under his belt at Bathurst. Not particularly in these cars. Everyone knows Bathurst like the back of their hand, surely. You would think. Look, I hope he can bounce back next week. It's it is a tough track. One small mistake, you don't have runoff. The only place you've got runoff is sort of at the chase. So you're making a mistake, you're in the wall. It's game over. And if you have to tow, it's a long tow. I think it's almost a 2-minute tow, potentially, depending where you are from track. So it's not. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna tip Carnage. I'm hoping Mark's not involved in it. But I'm tipping Carnage next week. It's definitely one to tune into.
Yeah, it's not going to be one that anyone is going to want to miss. Bathurst, F3s, probably going to see a whole heap of safety car action, but also a whole heap of carnage, as we mentioned as well. Yep. If you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon as well, so you are notified anytime we go racing here on SRW TV, including our Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars series on Tuesday nights, the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals here on a Wednesday, the Shannon's GR86 Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series on Thursday nights, the Friday night Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series, the Sunday night Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am, and then, of course, rounding out our racing week, the Motorsport Australia Formula V Nationals on Monday night, which is also an official Motorsport Australia series. This has been, though, the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals here, round number 5 out at Aragon. A big thank you goes to all of our series sponsors, including Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, Shunt Scenery, Grim Industries, NeuroPower, DSL Rail Services, and Motorsport Australia. Thank you for supporting the series. If you guys are watching us live or afterwards, please get on the like button, as we mentioned. Get into the chat if you're watching us live. Get into the comment section if you're watching us after the fact. Any engagement on the channel we can get will help us grow the channel, grow the league, grow the series, and help us offer you more and more incredible racing action like we've seen here tonight. From Stefanie Piccoli alongside me. I've been Hamish Munro. This has been the Shannon's Formula 3 Nationals, round number 5 out at Motorland Aragon. We'll see you tomorrow night with JP back in the booth for the Shannon's Toyota GR86 Nationals. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, I'll tell you what, Bruce Tannock and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away.